I'm a graduate student in civil engineering at university, and I only started a few months back. Overall, things were going pretty well for me at the time. My classes were solid. I'd made a couple of friends, and I managed to find an apartment that didn't completely destroy my budget. The landlord was definitely a little questionable, though. I also had a car and lived pretty far from campus. But I didn't mind the commute since I actually enjoy driving. The only real drawback was that the neighborhood wasn't great. Still, I didn't let that bother me too much. I'm a girl in my mid-20s, and I figured I could take care of myself. Sure, life felt a bit dull, but I was there to earn a degree, not to party. Everything stayed normal until the day my backpack disappeared. I had left it sitting on a table in a random hallway while I ran to the bathroom, which was a stupid mistake. When I came back, it was gone, naturally. That hallway happened to be one of the few without cameras, so there was absolutely nothing that could be done. I was irritated more than anything else. My wallet, my keys, and my laptop were all inside it. I had to cancel my cards, replace them, tell my landlord my keys were missing, and start shopping for a new laptop. It turned into a whole ordeal. It sucked, but I told myself that stuff like this just happens sometimes. A few days later, I realized the situation was far worse than I'd thought. One evening, after driving home from campus, I noticed a handwritten note shoved under my door. At first, I assumed it was just my landlord reminding me about something. But I couldn't have been more wrong. When I picked it up and read it, it only said, "I see you." There was no name and no signature. Just those 3 words. Right away, everything clicked. Whoever took my backpack had somehow gotten into my laptop and figured out where I lived. That alone was terrifying. But then an even worse realization hit me. That person also had my apartment keys. My skin started to crawl, and I glanced over my shoulder, almost expecting to see someone standing there. I rushed inside and slammed the door behind me. I locked the deadbolt, knowing that even if someone tried to get in, they wouldn't be able to force their way through it. Over the next week, more notes showed up, all written by hand. They were short, just unsettling messages like, "I know what you did," or "Watch yourself." By then, I was seriously shaken. I hadn't actually done anything wrong, but if someone had gone through my laptop, there was no telling what they might have found. I had no idea how to handle it. I kept wondering if calling the police would even make a difference. I decided to wait a bit longer, hoping whoever was doing this would eventually lose interest. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, something caught my attention. It was dark outside, and my blinds were only halfway open, but I swear I saw a quick flash, like someone had taken a photo of me. I yanked the blinds shut immediately, my heart pounding. When I looked again, there was no one there. But things didn't stop after that. I began noticing small changes around my apartment, like items being moved. At first, I convinced myself I was just being careless. My shoes would be in a different spot, or my jacket would be tossed over a chair instead of hanging where it belonged. They were small details I could explain away if I tried hard enough. Then one day, I walked in to find my bed stripped bare, and my bedroom completely wrecked. My dresser drawers were pulled open, and my books were thrown all over the floor. It looked like someone had ripped through the room. I called the police right away, but they didn't do much. There were no signs of forced entry and nothing was missing, so they said there wasn't much they could do. I asked my landlord to change the locks, but he told me it would take at least 2 days to get someone out there. I begged him to speed it up, but he brushed it off and said it wasn't an emergency. I felt completely betrayed. I couldn't understand how he didn't see this as serious. I kept pushing him, but eventually he stopped responding altogether. No matter what I said, that was just yesterday, as I'm writing this. I barely slept last night, even though I had the deadbolt locked. I've been thinking about changing the locks myself, but I don't even know how to do that without causing expensive damage. I skipped all my classes this morning because I'm scared to leave my apartment. I'm still here now, writing this all out. If whoever this is comes back, I'm ready to confront them. If they went through my laptop, they probably know my class schedule. I've been thinking about hiding somewhere and surprising them if they try to come in while I'm supposed to be in class. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll update when I can. There's also another ongoing issue I haven't been able to keep to myself anymore. I recently broke up with my boyfriend of 3 years, Mike. The breakup wasn't terrible, but it wasn't smooth either. We'd been arguing for months, and it was clear things weren't going to work. When it finally ended, I honestly thought it was for the best. I blocked him everywhere, and that was supposed to be the end of it. I hear almost everything happening outside. A few days after the breakup, I started hearing strange sounds at night. They weren't normal city noises. I heard footsteps and soft shuffling, like someone was right outside my window. At first, I assumed I was just imagining it. Eventually, though, I accepted that it was probably my ex. I wasn't completely panicked because Mike was one of the kindest, most harmless people I knew. I mean that genuinely. He wasn't the type to do anything extreme or try to hurt me. I figured he'd just missed me, so I chose to ignore it. I told myself he'd get tired of it eventually. On top of everything else, I was already overwhelmed from the breakup, and I had a major group project due. That project actually plays a big role in all of this. I was responsible for editing it and submitting it to our professor. I worked on the project all night, going over every detail until I was sure it was exactly right. I finally emailed it just before midnight. Once it was sent, I felt a huge sense of relief and went to bed, trying my best not to dwell on everything else in my life that was falling apart. The next day in class, we were scheduled to present the video. My professor hooked up his laptop and opened the file I had sent. I was nervous, but at the same time, I felt proud of what we'd put together. I had a lot of experience using this software, and I honestly believed our video was better than most of the others. Then the video started playing, and my stomach completely sank. It wasn't our project at all. On the screen was a low-quality video of someone wearing a scream mask. The person wasn't silent either. They were talking, saying awful things about me, my professor, and even the government. It was beyond disturbing. I don't even want to repeat what was said because it was that vile. My professor let it play longer than he should have, probably because he was just as shocked as everyone else. When he finally stopped it, his face had gone pale. I couldn't move. I have never felt so humiliated in my entire life. I was completely frozen. I wanted to cry, but nothing would come out. I could hardly breathe. It felt like every single person in the room was staring straight at me. I knew exactly what they must have been thinking. After what felt like the longest few seconds of my life, the shame finally snapped me out of it. I broke down crying and ran out of the lecture hall, feeling a full-blown panic attack coming on. I thought about just going home, but I knew that if I did, I'd probably get expelled. So instead, I waited outside the building until class ended and then went to find my professor. I begged him to believe me. telling him I had no idea how that happened and that I knew for a fact. I had sent the correct video. He agreed to listen and later confirmed that 2 videos had been submitted. The first was my actual project, and the second, sent later, was the one he played in class. Sorting everything out with the university took a lot of time and stress, but eventually I managed to clear my name. I won't get into all the details. Nothing could undo the embarrassment anyway. What became clear though was that my email had been hacked, which was a much bigger issue. I changed my password and convinced myself I had just been incredibly unlucky. That's when things escalated. Less than a week later, I woke up to find myself logged out of Instagram. That only happens when someone else signs in, which meant that account had been hacked too. I don't even want to think about what they might have seen. There were things on my Instagram that I'm really not comfortable talking about. I contacted the police and explained everything. To my surprise, Ben agreed to talk to them. The police were able to confirm that he wasn't responsible for the hacking. However, he did admit that after our breakup, he had posted my personal information on an online forum. He insisted that he never shared any of my passwords. But my passwords were easy to guess, and like an idiot, I used the same one for everything. The police told me there wasn't much they could do. He technically wasn't behind the hacking itself. That's when the reality of the situation truly hit me. Someone else had access to nearly all of my private information. They could easily use it to blackmail me. I changed all my passwords right away, but it might have already been too late. A few weeks passed without anything happening. My best guess was that whoever had been messing with me realized the police were involved and didn't want to risk getting caught. I honestly thought that was the end of it. Of course, I was wrong. One day, a random person added me on Instagram, which wasn't that unusual. When I added them back, they started sending me pictures. Pictures of me. You can probably imagine what kind. I blocked them immediately, before they had a chance to threaten me, which I'm sure was coming next. I completely broke down. I have never felt so powerless. For about a week after that, random accounts kept trying to add me on Instagram. I knew it was the same person every time, and I refused to accept any of them out of fear that they'd try to blackmail me or demand money. This has been going on for about a week now, and I honestly don't know what to do. There's no evidence and no way to track whoever this is. The police don't have enough information to help, and even if they did, I'm not sure what they could actually do. The worst part is that this person knows where I live, and likely knows other deeply personal things about me. If I keep ignoring their Instagram requests, I'm scared they might escalate things. They've already been lurking outside my apartment. I wouldn't be surprised if they went even further. All I can do now is hope they get bored and stop. To any young women reading this, please be careful about what you keep on your phone. I honestly don't know if this nightmare will ever end.